It is minus 40 degrees. The sun went down hours ago. You have no coat, no house, no roof, no door to close. You are a primate. No fur, no claws, no fangs, nothing that fights the cold. The wind moves through you like you are not there. Every breath you take out here costs you heat. Sweat could freeze on your skin and turn deadly. A bear could sleep straight through this. You cannot. Your body has no winter setting, and somehow your ancestors made this place home. They lived out here for thousands of years. Let's talk about how. Be honest. Have you ever cursed the heater for taking 90 seconds? 90 seconds, and you were already annoyed. Your ancestors kept a fire alive all night in shifts. If it went out, people died before morning. You press a button and forget the cold exists. So start with the cold itself. This was the last glacial maximum, roughly 26,000 to 19,000 years ago. Ice sheets buried the whole north of the continent, in places that ice stood 2 miles thick. Beyond it lay frozen, treeless plain. They call it the Mammoth steppe. Grass, wind, and ice. From Spain to Siberia. Average temperatures fell about 9 degrees. On the open steppe, winter nights hit minus 40. With wind, it felt far colder than that. Cold like that does not give second chances. Exposed skin freezes in minutes. No animal your size should have survived it. You had no fur and nowhere to crawl into. You could not outrun it. You could not fight it. And yet, there you were. You survive a cold, like that one way only. You engineer your way out of it. For most of our history, clothing was occasional. A hide thrown on in the cold, dropped in the warm. The Ice Age ended that. Now you wore it always. Around 40,000 years ago, in southern Siberia, someone made this. An eyed needle. Bone, with a hole punched through one end. In 2024, archaeologist Ian Gilligan traced its spread. Siberia first. The Caucasus by 38,000. Europe only by 26,000. A needle sounds small. It was a survival machine. It let you sew fitted, layered clothing, tight seams that hold warm air against the skin. The first close-fitting layers. In effect, the first underwear. Here is a quiet clue most people miss. Those eyed needles belong to your species, not theirs. Neanderthals seem to have wrapped hides cape style. You cut, shaped, and sewed yours to fit. In a killing cold, a better coat is an edge. They scraped a hide, cut it, stitched it for days. You pull a zipper and step outside. The cold takes your fingers and toes first. So they sewed fitted boots and mittens too. Bare hands out here fail in a few minutes. Near a Russian town called Sungur, they went further. About 34,000 years ago, people were buried there. Their clothing carried thousands of ivory beads. One man wore around 3,000 of them. 2 buried children wore over 5,000 each. The beads ran along the seams. Sleeves. Hoods. That pattern proves the clothing was cut to fit. Each single bead took about an hour to carve. Do the math. Thousands of hours on one outfit. The children were also buried with mammoth ivory spears. Straightening a tusk that way took brutal effort. On the steppe, clothing was the line between life and death. Decoration found a new home too. You cannot paint skin buried under fur. So the art moved on to the clothes instead. Now you have clothes. You still need heat. On a treeless steppe, that is a real problem. No trees means no firewood, so they burn the animals themselves. At Mezhyrich in Ukraine, hearths are full of burnt bone. Almost no wood charcoal in them at all. Mammoth-bone, greasy and slow, became the fuel. But lighting that fire took real work every time. They struck flint and coaxed a spark for minutes. You tap a switch and heat fills the room. Starting fire was so hard, they rarely let it die. They carried live embers from camp to camp. A glowing coal guarded day and night. The fire did double work in the dark. It held off wolves and cave lions too. At Kostenki in Russia, they built with bone too. One structure was 25,000 years old. They used the bones of 60 mammoths, 40 feet across. Alexander Pryor described it in 2020. 60 mammoths. A house of bone. A fire of bone. In a world with no wood at all. Over the bone frame, they stretched heavy hides. Inside, body heat and fire held the chill out. They even used the frozen ground as storage. Pits dug into permafrost kept meat edible for months. They dragged mammoth bones over frozen ground to raise a wall. You flip a thermostat with one finger. The warmth feels the same. The cost does not. And out there, drinking was not simple either. Every drop of water was locked in ice. You melted snow over the fire, burning precious fuel. Warmth and water came from the same small flame. And warmth alone was never enough. Cold burns calories fast. You need a lot of fuel. So they cooked. Fire pulled more energy from every meal. More calories fed the organ that cost the most. Your brain, the hungriest thing you own. Winter fed the brain that outlasted every rival. And none of this happened by luck. Winter cannot be survived in the moment. It has to be survived months before it arrives. In summer, you dry meat for a cold you cannot see. You store fuel for a winter that is not here yet. That means holding a future clearly in your head, planning for a version of you that does not exist yet. Counting your stores may be the root of arithmetic. Some think winter pressure sharpened exactly that kind of thought. Here's the part that should stop you. You were not the strongest human alive in this ice age. That title belonged to someone else, the Neanderthals, and they were not brutes. They made tools, controlled fire, buried their dead. They hunted mammoth up close with heavy spears. Neanderthals had thicker bones and heavier muscle, a barrel chest built to hold heat, a wide nose that warmed freezing air before the lungs. Their brains matched yours. Often, they were larger. By every physical measure, they were built for winter. But that heavy body had a hidden price. A bigger frame burns far more food each day. In a lean winter, that appetite could sink you. They had ridden out cold snaps for 200,000 years. Your species reached Europe and overlapped them for a while. Then, around 40,000 years ago, they vanished. The stronger, colder adapted human went extinct. You did not. The difference had nothing to do with muscle. It came down to numbers. Neanderthals lived in tiny bands, 5 to 15 people. Their entire population stayed in the low tens of thousands. Small numbers meant thin blood and fragile odds. One bad decade could erase a whole people. Homo sapiens moved in groups up to 150. You traded stone and shells across hundreds of miles. Tools turn up far from the rock they came from. Those far trades meant no camp stood fully alone. Even the beads did quiet work out here. Shared styles, marked who was kin and who was friend. You shared food, tools, and news between camps. When one band starved, another could send help. Neanderthals had no such network to fall back on. Big groups carried something you cannot dig out of the ground. Memory. Elders who had lived through the worst winters. They knew where water held and where herds crossed. A memory of one deep freeze could save everyone. That knowledge passed down winter after winter. When the big game thinned out, they could not switch. You ate almost everything. Plants, fish, birds, meat. A wider diet meant more ways to survive a bad year. Winter did not kill the weakest first. It killed the most alone. The real killer of the Ice Age was isolation. The thing that saved you was each other. Warmth, food, knowledge, all of it moved between hands. And here's the strange coda to it. Your species and theirs did more than compete. They met, sometimes they had children together. Most people alive carry a little Neanderthal DNA. 1 to 4% still inside you. The strongest humans lost. Part of them survived in you. That is not ancient history. That is you last winter. Think about the last time you were truly cold. How long did it last before a machine saved you? You always had a wall, coat, or a car nearby. They planned all summer for one winter. You order a coat online and forget by morning. There is one more thing the cold may have given you, and it is the strangest gift of all. Picture a real winter night out there. Long, dark, 16 hours of blackness. You cannot hunt in the dark. You cannot forage. You cannot travel. For the first time, the group just sat still. No work to do, just a fire and each other. Hours of empty time to fill. In 2014, anthropologist Polly Wassner studied that fire. She recorded talk among the Juhwansi of the Kalahari. She logged 174 conversations. By day, talk was food, work, and gossip. By firelight, everything changed. They told stories. Stories about people far away, about spirits, about the past. Night stories carried them to places no one had walked. She called those stories the original social media. Day talk kept the group running. Night talk built something bigger, a shared past, a shared future, a shared us. That is imagination getting its first real practice, and imagination is what let you plan and believe. The fire did more than keep them warm. It gave them the time to imagine. Long winter nights may be where storytelling was born, and storytelling is where culture starts. They found stories in the dark, because the dark left them nothing else to do. You scroll past 1,000 of them before breakfast. Wiesner noticed one more thing. Now, our light turns those night hours into work time. The fire time that made us, we quietly gave away. So line it all up. The strongest humans died, the most connected lived. Clothing you could sew, fire you could carry, bands you could trust. None of it was raw strength. All of it was was cooperation. The Ice Age did not reward the toughest body. It rewarded the biggest, best connected group. Every warm room you have ever sat in traces back to people who refuse to freeze alone. You will never stand in -40 with no coat, no door, and no one else beside you. You get to skip all of it. All of it. Every frozen night they never skipped. But someone paid for that. In shifts by the fire. In winters that killed the alone. Every one of them was somebody's whole world. One honest question before you go. What is the coldest you have ever been in your life? And what would you have done that night without heat? Tell me below. I read every single one. Because somewhere out there, it is still -40 tonight. And someone is still feeding a fire in the dark. They kept it burning so you would never have to. I read every single one.